Hello and welcome to today's podcast. I'm Kim. This is Kim's Wellness Space. You are super welcome. I'm so excited that you're here with me. If this is the first podcast that you have listened to with me, you are very welcome. And I highly recommend going back and listening to other episodes. If you are someone that is here all the time, welcome back. It's lovely that you come back to listen. Okay, I'm excited about this podcast. I think I say that every week, but I am excited about this one. Um, Today, I'm going to talk to you about sunlight. And I have spoken about sunlight before. And I actually went back and got my notes from actually it was 2 years ago when I made these notes for a course that I was running. But some of us still don't know, or sometimes we have to hear the thing that we're being told way more than once for it to actually go in, don't we? And that's what I love about learning, because you never know everything, and there's always something to learn. There's always a different way of sentences and words hitting, and that's exciting. And so this is why I'm talking to you about sunlight again, because sunlight is so important. And we're quite frightened of sunlight these days because, the media has shared and told us about things like skin cancer, and it's scary. I get it. And I'm not for 1 minute telling you to get outside in the sunshine and burn like a crisp and hurt your eyes, and like, I'm absolutely not saying that. But sunlight is so important to us. And so I have all this knowledge in my head. I have shared it on many times, not just on the podcast. I've shared it in emails, on newsletters, on Instagram stories. Like, it's something that I have shared many times in courses, during yoga. So it's not a new subject for me. And it probably isn't the first time that you've heard me talking about it if you've been in my world for a while. But a couple of weeks ago, I was listening to a podcast. Actually, it was my son's podcast, and he does a podcast about reptiles. And if you like reptiles, it's super interesting. I highly recommend you go listen to it. But it was fascinating because I wasn't actually doing anything. I was literally had my earphones on, and I think I was sitting in the garden. I was just listening to the words that were coming in my head and just sort of, I don't know, maybe thinking things a bit deeper. Anyway, whatever it was that day that happened, all of a sudden I was very aware that Ben and his guest that he had that week, which was Paul, were talking about sunlight for their reptiles. That seems pretty straightforward. But actually, they had spent 15, maybe 20 minutes talking about different light bulbs and what UV level each light bulb worked to, what it gave the reptile, and how they had them positioned in the reptile's habitat, and how important it was to have them in different positions and that the reptiles could access them at different times. And honestly, there was so much detail that went into this conversation, and I probably am not relaying it um, exactly right because reptiles aren't my thing. But all of a sudden, I was like, wow, I need to just go back and listen to this again. Not because I'm going to get a reptile and I need to understand the lighting, but how interesting that two humans were talking about, and actually we're talking about lizards, um, and went into this much detail on how much sunlight, UV ray their reptiles needed to give them optimal health. Now, you might be listening to this thinking, where are you going with this, Kim? But have you ever sat down and talked to someone for 20 minutes about how much sunlight you're getting and what kind of sunlight you're getting and what impact that sunlight has on your life and how it makes you feel and how you can run your body to the optimum? Like, Have you ever had that conversation? I don't think I have. Like, I've talked about sunlight a lot. I know the benefits of sunlight, and I'm gonna go through some with you in a minute just to remind us. But I don't remember ever sitting and talking just about sunlight for 15, 20 minutes on the positive impacts it has on my well-being. Wow. Why do we not do this? Why do we not do this? How important is sunlight to our well-being? It's absolutely crucial. You know, have you seen that meme that says, put me in sunlight, water me, I'm basically a houseplant? Like, that's, making it really simple, but it's true. It absolutely is true. Like, we need sunlight, we need water, we need nutrients as well. We are basically like plants. We're human beings that have to have sunlight. If we don't have sunlight, and I actually had this conversation with someone this morning on an Instagram message who had been having a bit of a hard time, and I'd sent her a message yesterday, and she replied this morning saying, actually, Kim, I'm okay. I was just having a bit of a wobble. And it's because it's so grey here. Like, it feels like winter's going on forever. I'm not getting much sunshine, and it's having a negative effect on my mood. That was just like 2 sentences on Instagram. So Ben and Paul were talking for 15, 20 minutes about light for their reptiles. And her and I exchanged like a couple of sentences. Like, the balance is just out, isn't it? And then when I was talking to Ben and saying, actually, do you know what? Your podcast has given me inspiration for mine. And I'm going to talk about this because it was just like one of those light bulb moments where I was like, oh my God, we should be talking about this more. He laughed and said, yeah, probably my pets are better looked after and we think about them more than we do ourselves. So he's like me, he has dogs. When you have dogs or cats or any kind of pet, you make sure that you're giving them really good food that's nutrient dense for them. Like, you wouldn't feed your dogs rubbish. We all know that dogs aren't allowed to eat chocolate, and they're not allowed to eat onions and garlic, and there's a whole list of things that are not good for them. And we all know that, and we don't give it to them because we know it's detrimental to them. We only give them food that's going to keep them in good health. Every day you fill up your dog or cat or animal's water bowl or bottle, depending on what it is, with fresh, clean water. You wouldn't dream of walking past your dog's bowl and thinking, oh, they haven't got any water. Oh, well, never mind, I'll do it later. You would immediately pick up that bowl and fill it because you know that they need water. But we don't always give ourselves the same care. How interesting. Why do we not do that? I actually feel like maybe that's a whole other podcast. So let me rein myself back in. Let's come back to the sunlight. So I'm going to ask you a question, because for me, this was the pivotal moment where I was like, I need to be paying attention to how much sunlight I get. And also, I want to just praise this by saying, just because I live in a hot country where the sun is out pretty much all year, there are still people that live here that don't get enough sunshine because they're not aware. And being aware is knowledge. And when we have knowledge, we can do something about it, can't we? So for me, as I wasn't sleeping very well, and I had put that all down to being perimenopausal, having, those wonderful hot flushes in the middle of the night that used to wake me up. And I just used to think, oh, well, I don't sleep very well because of that. It's fine. I'm not going to fight it. If I wake up, I'll get up and do stuff, or I'll read, or I'll put an audiobook on, and just wait for me to go back to sleep. There are many things that I have done since that era that have improved my sleep. But one of the things that I learnt about was sunlight. And actually, I learnt about it from Huberman Lab podcast, which I will pop in the show notes, because if you are someone like me, that likes information but likes the science and the why behind it, his podcasts are really good because it explains it with all the scientific backup, but in a way that you can understand it. It's super interesting. But basically, the one thing that you can do, a really quick, easy win that you can do to help your sleep pattern, is to get sunshine first thing in the morning, or sunlight, sorry, first thing in the morning when you wake up. That's easy to do, isn't it? Why do I not know this? This is what I was thinking. So then I listened a bit more and I've learned and understood and got that knowledge. And then I was like, well, now I have that knowledge. There's absolutely no way that I can ignore it, because I want to sleep better, because when I have a better night's sleep, there's a knock-on effect to all the other areas of my wellness. And so why would I not do that? So even on the days when it's grey and raining here, because it is, or we may be in a different country, let's face it, it might be somewhere else that's grey and rainy, I still make sure that I can get sunlight. And it's really interesting. I don't want to dwell just on this one part for too long, but it is really interesting that you don't need blue sky and bright sunlight for you to get that sunlight that makes a difference. But you do need to be in light, because when the light goes in your eyes, and remember, we're not talking about looking at the sun at all. That is a big no-no. Don't ever do that. But when you're outside and you have your eyes open and you haven't got sunglasses on, sunlight goes in your eyes. It's just a natural thing. It happens. You can't make it happen. It just happens. And when that happens, your brain has then been signaled that actually it's time to wake up. And so the melatonin that helps us sleep will then reduce, and different hormones kick in so that we can get on with our day, start our day, do all the things that we need to do. So even on the greyest day, there is still sunlight in natural light outside. If it's a day where it's absolutely pouring down with rain and it's the darkest day and it's awful, you could turn on the brightest light in your house and sit next to it for a while. We're not looking at it, but we're sitting within that area of light. Something similar will still happen. And do you know, you don't have to do this for very many days in succession for your body to regulate. Oh, okay, it's nighttime, it's morning, it's nighttime, it's morning, it's nighttime, it's morning. And then all of a sudden you're in a better habit of going to sleep and you'll sleep better. I mean, it just sounds a bit too easy, doesn't it? But actually, I have found with everything to do with wellness, the things that make the biggest difference are the simplest things. You don't have to make great big grand gestures. They're just small tweaks that you have to make, but you have to do them consistently. So if you're only going to get up once a month and get sunlight on your face, it's not going to make any difference. And you come at me and say, Kim, it doesn't work. And I'm straight away going to say to you, are you doing it every day? And if you can't say to me, yes, well, then that's why it's not working. We have to be consistent. I mean, if you miss the odd day or two here and there, that's okay. But definitely, if you're starting something new, you want to be doing it every single day. And it's so important. It's so important. So I'm just going to look at my notes here because I want to make sure that I, give you all of the information of why we need this sunshine. So we're regulating our circadian rhythm with getting out in the morning and getting sunshine. It tells our body when we're in that sunlight to decrease some of our hormones and increase others so that our body starts working. It knows it's waking up for the day. Also, being outside and getting that sunlight, it reduces our stress. It helps us maintain strong bones. We get vitamin D. It strengthens our immune system. It reduces depression. Low moods can be boosted because as soon as we're outside in sunlight and that melatonin has dropped, our serotonin comes up. So the chemicals that improve our mood are triggered. It can even, and you're going to say to me, Kim, this is a bit of a stretch, but it can even have a difference to our weight. So I'm not saying if you go out in sunshine every day, your weight's going to drop off. It's absolutely not. But I think you'll find that the combination of all of the things that happen when we are getting that sunshine regularly every day means that actually what we're doing is we're starting to live our lives a little bit differently. We're starting to do things that are positive for our wellness. And when we do all of those things, it will have a knock-on effect to our weight. You will find that your weight will alter because um, it just does. It's like a magic formula, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, do these 5 things and you're going to feel better. Why would you not do them? Are they hard? Yeah, sometimes they are hard. But how hard is it if you're ill or when you're in hospital? How hard is it if you're having a heart attack or you have to have a heart bypass? Like these heart attacks and stents and all those horrible things, they happen to women just as much as they do men these days because of the lives that we're living. So why not grab life with both hands, make those changes now, today, and be proactive? Why wait until we've had a heart attack or a stroke and then reevaluate how we're living and then make changes? Much better to do it now before we get sick. Um, and I think the other thing that I want to say is also, you're probably saying to me, "Oh God, Kim, I'm so busy. I don't really have time for standing outside in the sunshine or getting outside in." But we do have time. We absolutely do have time. And we can stack things. So have you heard of James Clearwater's book, Atomic Habits? It's all about habit stacking. It's a brilliant book. There are loads of people in this wellness, health and fitness industry that will quote from this book. It's brilliant for starting new habits and getting rid of old ones. And habit stacking is brilliant. And one of the ways that I do this for my sunlight is that I'll go for a walk first thing in the morning. So I can actually do 3 things at once. I will be out getting my morning exercise. So that's good because I'm getting some steps in. I'm out in nature. It's fast-paced walking, so it's good for my heart health. Walking's brilliant anyway for your overall health. I'm outside, so I'm in sunlight, so I'm getting that hit of sunlight that my body needs, that gives me all of that stuff that I've just said, vitamin D, high mood, lack of depression, strong bones, reduced stress, better sleep, all of that stuff, all that good stuff. I also listen to podcasts while I'm walking, so that means that I'm learning something. So, when people say, "Oh, it's all right for you because you don't have to do this or you don't have to do that," or, but I'm ticking 3 boxes of my morning routine with one action, which is going for a walk. 3 ticks, winning straight away. So, yeah, I can't get my words out. I'm so excited. 100% encourage you to get yourself into natural daylight every single day if you are someone that wants to sleep better, if you are someone that wants to reduce your stress, have strong bones, get that vitamin D in you, strengthen your immune system, reduce depression, raise your mood. Like, how good does all that sound? And, if you do it for a few days after listening to this podcast and then you think, "Oh, do you know what? I just can't bother this morning." It probably doesn't do anything anyway. Just remember how much effort Ben and Paul go into with their light bulbs for their lizards. If they can do that, you definitely can go out for a walk. And you don't have to go out for a walk or you don't have to go into the sunlight for hours and hours. You can stand in your garden with a cup of tea for 10 minutes. Or, if it's raining, open a window and stick your head out the window and get the sunlight from there. It doesn't have to be a massive thing. And make it simple. Like, really make it simple for yourself. So if you are thinking, "Oh God, you know what? I'd love to do that. That really sounds good. And I know it'll make a difference, but I don't think I've got 10 minutes of my day at the moment." That's fine. Make it 5 minutes. Make it 2 minutes. Make it 1 minute. Just literally stand outside and then come back in again, because you'll have started. And that's the hardest thing, to start. And then once you've done a minute, maybe you can increase it to 2. Maybe you could increase it to 5. I mean, we've got timers on our phones, haven't we, all the time? So, you can put your phone on timer and say, right, 2 minutes. I'm just going to be outside for 2 minutes. Then the timer goes, you're done, finished, ticket, done for the day. There's always a way around it, always a way around it. So, yeah, in sort of rounding up that excitable chat about sunlight, it's amazing, isn't it, where we get our inspiration from. There I was listening to a podcast about reptiles, and I've been able to share a whole podcast with you about sunlight. So I have talked for about 20 minutes now about sunlight. So the same as Paul and Ben did when they were talking about their reptiles. So we have had that conversation. We can tick it off. We know now what we can do to go out there and really increase our wellness every day by starting our day with sunlight. I hope you have found this helpful. I hope that all made sense. Please like and share the podcast, comment, leave reviews. Let's get it out there so that everybody in the world can listen and learn and understand what the best thing is to do for our wellness, so that we can all feel well together. If you want to know more about what I do, come over to Instagram and find me. I love chatting in the DMs, so I'm always about. But yeah, that is me for this week, and I will speak to you all very, very soon. Thank you for listening.